The John Sitton Football Uncensored podcast. Got John. I'll be honest with you, it's been so long. I don't know. Fuck knows what episode it is. I'll be honest with
Yeah.
you. So apologies, everyone. But it's been a lot. There's been a lot.
Yeah.
There's been a lot. But let's say it's episode 50. It's a nice round number. A bullseye, as they say in the old parlance.
Well, I mean, we're up, is it 28, 29? Because we said we was going to do, like, if we're like towards the end of the season, get 30 in and then review it.
Yeah. Yeah, it's been a while, and it's my fault. You know, fait accompli. I'll die on my sword. I'll die on my sword. But you know, you got to earn a pound note, John, and you know we're not getting paid for it, and we do it for the love of it, and you know, hopefully things ease up, and we do more, particularly as it leads up to the World Cup, because you know that's an exciting time, and obviously predictions for next season. And yeah, just how things shaping up on that. But what I think would be good to do, there's obviously a lot of water under the bridge, as you mentioned just before we come on air. So we've got to try and pinpoint the main key points since we was last recording. And I think obviously very close into the season, it'll be good to get your thoughts on how you see things ending up, because there's some outstanding big questions. One is, who wins the league? Liverpool, I suppose you could say they slipped up yesterday at home to Spurs, but you know, fucking hell, they've won plenty of games before that, and they're entitled to draw a game. Man City have got one game in hand, relatively easy games left. I think the most difficult one is probably Wolves away, and then they've got
Newcastle, West Ham, Villa.
Villa is their last game, and they're at home to Villa, which is could Stevie G cause an upset for his old club. But yeah, then there's a Champions League element as well. Man City got knocked out. Laughable the way they got knocked out, I would say.
Yeah, you're right. It was. Yeah.
Then I think we should quickly talk about top four. Who finishes top four? Tottenham, Arsenal. There's big North London derby on Thursday. Arsenal are playing today. Playing Leeds at home, I think. It'd be interesting to know what you think on that. And then you mentioned at the beginning of the season, way back when, you thought Man United would have a decent season. Started off okay, but the wheels have completely come off. Obviously, Ollie's gone. Ralph Rangnick's come in, the messiah of the Gunga press, and it's all gone belly up. Good to get your thoughts on that, and then we'll chat some more shit after that. See how we get on. Yeah. All right. So Liverpool. Yeah.
Well, you're not lying. I mean, it's you got all the phrases now that's come out. I mean, if we are going to chat it, you know, I mean, it's we don't get paid for it. I mean, some people chat loads of shit and they get paid fortunes.
Exactly. It's better shit than most other people's shit.
Yeah. I'd like to think so. Yeah.
It's good shit.
And when I look at what's going on at football clubs up and down the country, I'm sitting here really with a very self-satisfied, smug, you know, smile of satisfaction with regards to the anarchy, at certain clubs, with regards to whether managers or coaches should call players out like I did, whether something that's destabilised the club mid-term. I'm thinking Chelsea, although it's still in their hands, Man United, places like this, Tottenham, whether it has an adverse effect on proceedings, clubs down the bottom like Watford and Burnley, whether it has an adverse, you know, I can vouch and fully confirm that it does. You know what I mean? And there's some of the nonsense that goes on behind the scenes. Supporters would, they can only guess, and supporters haven't got a clue what really has gone on or what goes on. And some of them, in my case, they're so full of apathy they don't give a shit anyway. You know what I mean? Even when you want to tell your side of the story. So I'll sit there. I'm quite pleased with the way certain things pan out. I've got to be honest. That's just me. I've been, sort of, when people say it's a little bit vindictive, a little bit bitter, I go, yeah, now what? It's just nice. It's just nice when you see things come true, Joe, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I know we was probably going to touch on this at the end, but I've sort of, just given what you're saying about Roy Hodgson very quickly, it does seem as though there's something rotten at Watford and he's been overruled in some big decisions there internally. And he was sort of laughing and joking with the Palace players yesterday when they got relegated. And do you think, I mean, which is disrespectful from him, but also the fact that he's been overruled and he's the longest serving manager in English football, or oldest manager in English football, and deserves respect. Do you think there's it's an element of Emperor's New Clothes a little bit, and with professional football, and do you think it's changed much since your day, in the sense that it seems all very glossy and nice from the outside, but actually it's still quite a sort of cottage industry behind the scenes, and big personalities seem to pull the strings, and it's not necessarily run like a slick organization?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know about the big personality thing. I mean, and if it is a big personality, it's not a problem as long as it's the right personality and a good personality.
Yeah. But owners, owners, I don't know what they're fucking talking about.
Well, no, what you've got a situation here, Joe. I mean, I think it's wrong that people are able to own 2 or 3 football clubs.
Yeah.
Hodgson, in his case, it's just my personal opinion. I think you can go on too long, and I think it gets to a stage where you're possibly servicing your ego and your bank account, which would be brimming over anyway. You know what I mean? It's not as if he's going to impart anything new or different. And I think it's plainly evident when you look at the quality of the players and the damning sort of summary last night by the goalkeeper that I heard on Match of the Day. But sticking to the bit about the ownership, I think that's where we're at now. You've got like a situation where fundamentally they throw a dinner party, and then instead of sitting back and relaxing and enjoying, they go in and they tell the chef how to cook. Or in their case, the car was misfiring, the engine was misfiring, and they take it in, and the garage and the mechanics, Roy Hodgson and his assistant, who's an ex-club mate of mine, Ray Lewington, and they strip it back and they say, well, you need new points, new plugs, new plug leads, and the owners say, well, no, I'll disagree. You're talking cobblers. It just needs a new air filter. So why employ them in the first place? But you've got this situation where they're franchisees, and it's about drawing money off of it now.
Yeah.
And they got what they deserve. If you got like what I experienced again, I laugh my socks off, really. And once I've mowed the lawn, I'll sit back and I'm watching a bit of TV late at night, or I sit back in the garden. I'll turn things over in my mind, and there's a lot of similarities. So I dealt with 4 chairmen in 10 months, but nobody was interested at the time. I didn't want to hear my story. I didn't want to hear my thing. But when you've got like an unstable environment with inconsistent, maybe frantic, maybe borderline neurotic, makeshift and mend owners, or people who are just basically a walking shambles, like I had at Leyton Orient before Ern's organisation come in, and maybe even before him, Phil Wallace, who seemed very, very well organised. When you've got that situation, it's going to have a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
And inevitably it shows out on the field. But it don't matter who they bought in. It's like I said to you very briefly before, like I said before we came on out. I'm looking at some of there's a common theme here over the last few weeks with regards to the defending. Again, I'm talking as an ex-defender. And I obviously had very low self-esteem, and/or my face didn't fit. And I gave people an excuse to move me on at Chelsea. You know what I mean? With regards to opening my mouth and questioning things and carrying on like a little bit of a big time Charlie. But the more defending I see, the better the player I was.
Yeah.
And it's no good being built like a light heavyweight boxer, and you could sprint and cover ground. Maybe in sort of Olympic qualifying time, if you've got the brains of a rocking horse, and you're rash and you rush in and you do stupid things and you don't read situations and you don't sense danger, and you sort of space yourself off and know when to mark players, when to mark space, when to cover, out to approach players when you're closing down, whether you just see them rushing in like kamikaze.
Do you think that's
this is basic schoolboy stuff, Joe. That's basic schoolboy stuff that you coach in grids. And then one
coaching hasn't happened. So I was going to say, do you think that's the fact that the players?
No, that's right. Yeah, because it's all bedded in during the developmental stage of your career, during when you're being taught as a kid. And it's like I always maintain that because I was taught appropriately and correctly, you know, I might as well have been like a cross between Dave Watson or Bobby Moore in the lower divisions. I barely put a foot wrong for years. You understand what I mean? Yeah. And then even when I did get in the thing, there was, you got all this empathy and sympathy and understanding now of the inconsistency of youth. I mean, when I broke into Chelsea's first team at 19, I think out of 14, I had 2 not very good games. Maybe 2.5, and then I recovered, which is what you got to do, because the only one who brings you out the other side is yourself. Yeah. You understand? But obviously my face didn't fit for whatever reason. And then it tickles me when I look back at games people send me on YouTube. My successors, or in one case, someone who was in situ there, how laughable they performed. How laughably they performed after I'd left. Yeah. And they got shredded. They got torn to pieces by the likes of Cambridge and Leyton Orient. At Stamford Bridge, etc. You know what I mean? And I look at some of the quality of defender I was watching last night. Probably a landmark moment. I think it was December 1976 when Eddie Mack was in charge, and it was the game was at Stamford Bridge. Chelsea 3, Wolves 3, but that had to come from behind every time. And when I look at the quality of the defending in that, even in one case, he was an household name really. And I look at it, I just swear it's laughable. Obviously, my face didn't fit. At one time, people had high hopes for me, but the point being, I think if you're well taught as a kid, it stays with you for life.
Yeah,
and they've obviously got by on their athleticism, without a shadow of a doubt. They've got by on their athleticism, and now they're found wanting because they can't use this and make the appropriate decisions.
Yeah, and I think just very quickly on the Watford thing, the club there seems to be a rotten culture there, and that's been proven. I mean, they've lost the last 5 games when they're fighting for their life. I mean, that is an embarrassing showing, and they deserve to go down. And let's see what happens. It doesn't seem like there'd be any cultural shift in the club anytime soon. So, it's
why should managers care? Why should certain managers care? You get to go in there, they turn over. How many managers had in the last 4 or 5 seasons?
Pathetic, yeah.
Pathetic. No, but they're going to get their settlement. They're going to get weighed on, and then they get their agent on the case, and they look for an opportunity elsewhere.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's there's no way that one culture affects another culture or approach. When you should be approaching it, you should be approaching it as if it's your job for life, really, and putting things in place. But the other thing is you've also got to pipe up and say, well, why appoint me if you're going to overrule me and you're going to insist on it happened at the club I was at. Certain individual, people, he's a control freak. Certain individual, you could tell you see from outer space, he's a control freak.
Just to say quickly, I'm going to stop this because and then I'm going to have to resend you a link and send you another one. But we'll edit this bit out. I'll text it to Jack. I'm going to stop.